The world fell into silence before it fell into chaos. It started with a whisper, a series of inexplicable power outages in major cities across the globe: New York, Tokyo, London, Moscow, Sydney. For a fleeting moment, their lights blinked out, screens went black, and the hum of daily life stuttered. Then, the assassinations began. One by one, the leaders who had shaped the world's fragile peace were struck down in swift, surgical strikes that left no trace of the attackers. The President of the United States vanished from a secure bunker without a sound. The Chinese premier was found dead in his quarters, a faint puncture wound on his neck. The European Union's council members disappeared in waves, never seen again. Global communication networks, the veins through which information and coordination flowed, were systematically crippled. Satellites flickered offline. Undersea cables were severed with precision, and hacker cells worldwide found their systems overwhelmed by untraceable intrusions. Panic and confusion spread like wildfire. Who was behind this? Governments scrambled to respond but found themselves trapped in a fog of uncertainty. Militaries mobilized, yet no enemy fleet appeared in the skies above Earth's atmosphere. No bombs rained down. No open declaration of war was issued. It was as if the world had been invaded by ghosts. Yet beneath the surface, something ancient and powerful stirred. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest point in the ocean, a strange signal pulsed, soft, rhythmic, and unmistakably artificial. It was unlike anything modern scientists had ever encountered. Dr. Mei Ling, lead oceanographer of the Global Deep Sea Exploration Initiative, stared in disbelief at the readings streaming across her console. "We're picking up something. Massive. It's not natural," she whispered, her voice trembling with a mixture of awe and fear. The signal was a beacon, a call from a forgotten past. As nations collapsed into paranoia and chaos, a coalition of scientists, engineers, and military experts convened in a secret underwater facility, determined to investigate. The ocean gave up its secret reluctantly. After days of probing with remotely operated vehicles and deep-diving submersibles, the team found it: gigantic warships, buried beneath kilometers of sediment and oceanic pressure. Their hulls were enormous, stretching hundreds of meters, unlike anything humanity had ever built or imagined. But the most astonishing part was the ships themselves. They were unmistakably human. Not in the crude designs of modern Earth vessels, but in a form that hinted at a forgotten golden age, a time when humanity had reached the stars and mastered the art of war beyond imagination. Dr. Ling's hands shook as she transmitted the images to the world's leaders. This could change everything. The warships were dormant, sealed tight against the crushing depths. Their surfaces gleamed faintly with a strange alloy, their contours sleek and deadly. Embedded symbols and markings pulsed faintly with an eerie blue light, as if waiting to be awakened. Back on the surface, the Zelthari Watchers prepared to strike again. The alien coalition had underestimated humanity's capacity for survival. They had designed this war to be surgical, a quiet elimination of the threat humans supposedly posed. They believed once Earth's leaders were gone and its defenses dismantled, humanity would fall without a fight. They were wrong. With the world's powers in disarray, pockets of human resistance sprang up. Not just military forces, but civilians armed with nothing but their courage and desperation. The discovery of the ancient warships injected a spark of hope into humanity's darkest hour. Leaders in hiding ordered teams to begin the impossible, raise the ships from the ocean floor and reactivate their systems. The challenge was monumental. No current technology could match the complexity of the ship's AI, and the materials used in their construction baffled even the most brilliant scientists. Communication with the ships was slow and fraught with interference, as if the vessels themselves were cautious, testing whether humanity was worthy to wield their power. At the same time, Zelthari stealth squads slipped onto Earth's surface, with ruthless efficiency, hunting down remaining resistance cells. The war was no longer silent. It was about to roar. In a cramped command center deep beneath the Atlantic, Captain Elena Vasquez stood before a panoramic screen showing the flickering images of the sunken warships awakening. Her jaw clenched as the AI interface lit up, an ethereal voice whispering through the speakers in a language both ancient and unmistakably human. Reactivation sequence initiated. For the first time in generations, humanity was no longer defenseless. But the war they had feared would end them was about to unleash a force the Zelthari had never anticipated. A deadly fleet forged in Earth's forgotten past, awakened to fight for the future. Elena's eyes burned with fierce resolve. This war was meant to kill us. Instead, it will make us unstoppable. The ancient warships lay silent beneath miles of crushing ocean pressure, sleeping giants in a forgotten graveyard. Now, as global teams raced against time, they were beginning to stir. Dr. Mei Ling's fingers danced over the controls of the submersible probe as it transmitted real-time images of the vessel's hull. The ship's surface was smooth and unblemished, made of an unknown metal that shimmered under the deep-sea lights like liquid starlight. Symbols glowed faintly along the edges, an ancient language waiting to be deciphered. On board the command ship Ardent Hope, the International Coalition's nerve center, Captain Elena Vasquez paced the deck, tension visible in every measured breath. The war was closing in. Zelthari ships now orbited Earth in low orbit, their silent presence a constant reminder of humanity's dwindling time. The ship's power core is intact, Mei Ling reported, her voice steady despite exhaustion. The containment fields are holding, but they're fragile. Any mistake could trigger a catastrophic failure. Elena nodded sharply. How long until we can bring it online? Maybe days if we push, weeks if we want to avoid disaster. May's eyes flicked to the screen, where the ship's hull began to pulse faintly with blue light as if sensing their presence. Beneath the waves, deep in the ship's cavernous interior, dormant systems flickered to life. Lenses and sensors blinked open like eyes after centuries of sleep. Mechanized arms moved, clearing sediment and repairing minor corrosion. In a cryogenic chamber, figures shifted. The ancient pilots, soldiers frozen in time, awoke from their slumber, memories hazy but instincts razor-sharp. Captain Elena had read the files. These were warriors of the first Exodus, human pioneers who had taken the war to the stars in a forgotten age. They had fought in conflicts long erased from history, wielding technology that surpassed anything modern Earth possessed. Now, they faced a war reborn. When the first pilot opened her eyes, confusion gave way to a burning resolve. Commander Celine Drake stretched her limbs, sensors syncing to the ship's AI core. "This is not the past," she murmured, voice steady despite the decades lost. "This is now. We fight again." Back at the surface, the Zelthari's bioweapons continued their deadly campaign. Unlike the initial silent strikes, their new attacks were brutal and unrelenting. Entire cities burned, and millions fled in desperation. Yet pockets of humanity refused to surrender. Resistance cells used guerrilla tactics to disrupt Zelthari supply chains, hacking into alien communications and striking at weak points. They held on, fueled by the hope that the ancient warships might yet save them. In the depths, engineers worked feverishly to integrate modern technology with the ship's archaic systems. There were successes and setbacks. Interfaces rejected attempts at communication, reactors fluctuated dangerously, and unexpected bursts of energy sent shockwaves through the facility. But every failure only hardened their resolve. Elena stood beside May as a fresh transmission crackled through. "Captain," the voice was strained, "the ship's AI has established a stable link. We have partial control." A cheer erupted among the crew, but Elena held up a hand to silence them. "Stay focused. This is only the beginning." Outside the command center's windows, the sea raged, a mirror to the turmoil gripping the planet. Then came the first sign that humanity's gamble might pay off. From the depths, a beacon flared, a pulse of energy radiating upward, piercing the water and sending shockwaves through the ocean. At the surface, naval vessels responded, scrambling to rendezvous with the emerging warship. As the ancient giant breached the surface, Sunlight glinted off its armored hull, a gleaming monument to human ingenuity and forgotten glory. Elena's voice was steady but fierce as she addressed her team. This ship is more than metal and circuits, it's hope. Our ancestors left us a legacy, and it's time we reclaimed it. The warship systems hummed with life, thrumming in sync with the pulse of humanity's collective will. But the Zelthari were watching. Their leaders convened in a dark chamber aboard their flagship, voices sharp with concern. "This changes everything," one intoned. "Humanity is awakening forces we cannot control." The war they had planned to end swiftly was spiraling into something far more dangerous. In response, the Zelthari dispatched strike teams to target the surface facilities where the ships were being revived. Under the cloak of night, these shadowy assassins infiltrated coastal cities, wreaking havoc and attempting to sever humanity's link to their warships. Yet, each attack was met with fierce resistance, not just from soldiers but from ordinary citizens who had taken up arms to protect their future. Back on the Ardent Hope, Elena stood at the helm, watching the warship stabilize and prepare for its maiden voyage. "This is just the first of many," she said softly. "The tide is turning, and soon the Zelthari will learn what it means to awaken the ghosts of humanity's past." The ocean swallowed the warship once more as it slipped beneath the waves, preparing to rise again, this time to claim the stars. The cryogenic chambers hissed open, releasing icy mist into the dimly lit hangar. Commander Celine Drake blinked against the harsh fluorescence, muscles aching after decades of frozen sleep. Her mind, though fogged with time, immediately latched onto the steady pulse of the ship's systems, a heartbeat she instinctively recognized. Around her, other pilots stirred, men and women who had been humanity's fiercest warriors in a forgotten age. Their eyes, clouded with time, soon sharpened with grim clarity as memories flickered to life. The first exodus had been a brutal era, spanning centuries of conflict against alien foes, betrayals and sacrifices too terrible to recount. But the enemy they faced now was different, more immediate, more dangerous. Selene pushed herself upright, her suit's servo motors whirring softly. "Status report," she demanded, voice steady despite the disorientation. A nearby technician, eyes wide with disbelief, hurried over. "Commander, the systems are stabilizing faster than expected. The AI is interfacing with our neural links. You're almost back to full operational capacity." Celine nodded, swallowing a lump in her throat. The war she had left behind was supposed to be over, buried with the ghosts of her generation. Instead, it had found her again. Outside the warship's hull, the ocean's weight pressed in, but inside the atmosphere was thick with urgency. Orders crackled through the ship's internal comms. Earth's defenses were holding, but barely. The Zelthari had launched a new wave of attacks, targeting resistant strongholds and critical infrastructure with ruthless precision. "Prepare the pilots," Selena commanded, moving toward the flight deck. "We launch within the hour." As she stepped into the corridor, her boots echoed on metal plating polished by centuries of disuse. The warship, though ancient, thrummed with latent power. Weapon systems gleamed like deadly promises. She passed, a holographic display of the ship's arsenal, plasma cannons, particle disruptors, railguns, all technologies thought lost to myth. The bridge was alive with activity. Young technicians in sleek uniforms monitored energy flows, weapons diagnostics, and sensor arrays. Celine's neural interface synced with the ship's AI, an entity both alien and intimately human. "Welcome back, Commander," the AI intoned, voice smooth and calm, yet tinged with something almost like reverence. "The war has changed. Your leadership is critical." Celine felt a surge of determination. "Then let's remind them why humanity never surrenders." The warship's launch bay opened with a thunderous roar, expelling air and water as it surged upward through the ocean. Outside, the surface shattered in a fountain of spray and light. The Zelthari fleet waited in orbit, their biomechanical warships like twisted predators circling a wounded prey. But the ancient human warship, now fully awakened, carved through the upper atmosphere with terrifying grace and raw power. Inside, Selene and her squadron prepared for battle. The neural links connected them, allowing real-time communication and shared tactical awareness. Years of training, combined with the instinct born of countless battles, sharpened their minds. Target acquired, Selene announced. Engage. The first salvo lit up space, the warship's plasma cannons firing with blinding intensity. Zelthari ships scrambled to respond, but their strikes were met with calculated precision. The ancient ship's shields absorbed energy blasts that would have obliterated modern vessels. Yet, the battle was brutal. Zelthari biomechanical warships adapted quickly, their tentacle-like weapons lashing out with deadly speed. One of Selene's wingmen, Lieutenant Kieran, took a hit, his craft spiraling out of control. Ejecting. Kieran's voice crackled over the comms, panic barely masked. Selene pivoted sharply, racing to cover him. "Hold on, Kieran, I'm coming." Amid the chaos, memories of past wars flooded her mind. Friends lost, battles won, sacrifices made. Each scar etched into her soul reminded her why she fought. As she locked weapons onto the attacking Zelthari warship, her hands moved with deadly precision. A burst of energy struck true, tearing through the alien vessel's defenses and sending it tumbling into the void. But victory was costly. The warship shook from enemy fire, alarms blaring. The Zelthari retaliated with a new weapon, a bioweapon designed to infect and corrupt human technology, turning it against its own pilots. Selene's neural interface flickered erratically as the infection attempted to breach the ship's systems. "Contain the breach," she shouted. "Engineering now." The crew worked frantically to isolate the virus, rerouting power and sealing off compromised nodes. "Containment stable," the AI confirmed after tense minutes. Selene exhaled sharply, her voice resolute. "We survive because we adapt, we fight because we endure." As the battle subsided, the warship limped toward a nearby orbital station, a temporary safe haven where repairs could begin, and the pilots could regroup. Selene looked out through the viewport at the battered starscape. This war was unlike any other, but humanity's spirit blazed brighter than ever. The ghosts of war had awakened, and they were ready to reclaim their place among the stars. The cold void of space was silent, deceptively so. Hidden in the shadows of Mars's orbit, the ancient warship Ardent Hope drifted like a predator stalking its prey. Inside its armored hull, Commander Selene Drake and her crew prepared for a strike that could shift the course of the war. Mars was the nerve center of the Zelthari's forward operations, a sprawling orbital base that coordinated the relentless attacks on Earth. Destroying it would cripple the enemy's supply lines, disrupt their communications, and buy humanity precious time to regroup, but the mission was suicidal. "The Zelthari know this station better than we do," Selene reminded her pilots, her voice calm but fierce. "Their defenses will be formidable. This won't be a simple raid." Lieutenant Kieran, freshly patched up from his last encounter, smirked. "When has anything about this war been simple?" Selene allowed herself a brief smile before turning, serious again. "We hit hard. We hit fast. We cripple their command and vanish before they know what hit them." The bridge hummed with tension as final preparations completed. Weapon systems were locked, stealth fields activated, and the neural links synced for seamless coordination. The ancient ship, once silent beneath the ocean, was now a razor-edged spear poised to strike. "Ready," Selene said, her fingers flying over the controls. "Engage the jump drive." With a burst of energy that lit up the dark void, the Ardent Hope vanished from Mars's orbit and reappeared seconds later, mere kilometers from the enemy station. "Visual confirmed," the AI intoned. "Enemy defenses online and scanning." Zelthari warships stirred from their patrols, monstrous biomechanical constructs writhing with lethal intent. The orbital base itself gleamed with a lattice of energy shields, its surface bristling with automated turrets and missile batteries. "Target locked," Selene announced. "All wings, attack formations Alpha and Beta. Engage." Plasma beams lanced out from the warship's cannons, ripping through the station's outer defenses. Selene's squadron split into coordinated strikes, some targeting shield generators, others focusing on weapon emplacements. The ancient warship's firepower was overwhelming, but the Zelthari responded with savage ferocity. Explosions rocked the station as turrets exploded and supply lines ruptured. Yet the Zelthari unveiled a terrifying new weapon: bioswarms, clouds of microscopic organisms engineered to latch onto technology and dismantle it at a molecular level. One swarm hit Lieutenant Kieran's wingman. Systems flickered and died, and the pilot ejected just before the craft was swallowed by the alien parasite. "Medic!" Kieran shouted over the comms. "We're losing them fast." Selene's voice was steel. "Keep moving. We cannot afford to falter." The squadron pressed on, weaving through beams of energy and debris. Selene's warship sustained hits, hull integrity dropping, but the ancient vessel absorbed damage that would have destroyed modern ships. Inside the station, Zelthari commanders frantically tried to contain the chaos. Their communications faltered as the Ardent Hope cut deeper into their network, broadcasting encrypted commands to disrupt their systems. "Almost there," Selene whispered. "Prepare the core disruptor." A massive energy cannon built into the ship's bow began charging, an ancient weapon designed to shatter planetary shields and critical infrastructure alike. With a roar that echoed through the void, the cannon fired. A beam of pure energy struck the station's power core, triggering a chain reaction. The orbital base shuddered violently, alarms blaring as systems overloaded. "Fall back! Fall back!" Zelthari commanders ordered, retreating to their warships. Selene didn't hesitate. "Retreat formation, evasive maneuvers, get us clear." The Ardent Hope and its squadron broke away, weaving through the debris field as the station exploded in a brilliant cascade of fire and metal. Victory tasted sweet, but the cost was immediate. "Damage report," Selene barked. "Shields at ear." 30%, the AI responded. "Hull integrity at 75. Repairs required but manageable." Kieran's voice came over the comms, breathless. "That bioswarm almost got me. We need a way to counter them fast." Selene nodded grimly. "Agreed. Engineering. Prioritize counter-bio measures." Despite their triumph, the war was far from over. Back on Earth, the destruction of the Mars station sent ripples through human society. For the first time, the Zelthari appeared vulnerable and hope surged. But the Zelthari were relentless. They retaliated by unleashing their deadliest bioweapons, viruses capable of infecting both organic life and mechanical systems, turning humanity's own technology into weapons against them. Cities burned, and humanity's defenses strained under the weight of the onslaught. Still, in underground bunkers and hidden bases, human engineers and scientists pushed forward with fevered determination. They worked to reverse engineer the Zelthari's bioweapons, developing countermeasures and turning the enemy's strength against them. Selene, aboard the battered warship, watched the stars flicker through the viewport. "This is just the beginning," she said quietly to herself. "We've struck at their heart, but the real war lies ahead." The ancient warship hummed beneath her feet, ready to fight. And so was she. The Ardent Hope drifted in orbit above Earth, battered but unbroken. Its ancient hull, scarred from countless battles, reflected the distant glow of the recovering planet below. Inside, the air was thick with tension and anticipation. Commander Selene Drake stood in the command center, watching streams of data flood the holographic displays. The war was turning, but the price was heavy. Zelthari bioweapons continued to ravage cities, corrupting both machines and flesh with terrifying efficiency. But humanity was fighting back. Dr. Mei Ling had arrived days earlier, carrying hope within a digital vial, an antidote to the bioweapons, a counteragent synthesized from the warship's ancient tech and humanity's modern science. The antidote was experimental and untested on a large scale, but it was the best chance humanity had. "Commander," May's voice cut through the comms, tinged with exhaustion. "The counteragent is ready. We need to deploy it immediately." Selene nodded, voice resolute. "What's the plan?" May's holographic figure flickered in the center of the command room. We'll use the Ardent Hope's advanced delivery systems to disperse the agent in critical zones. It's a race against time. The Zelthari swarms are adapting quickly. Then, we strike, Selene said. No hesitation. Outside, specialized drones equipped with dispersal units deployed from the warship. They sped toward Earth's surface, their payloads designed to neutralize the bioweapon infection and restore failing systems. Below, resistance forces coordinated with Ardent Hope's support. As the antidote spread, reports began filtering in. Infected, machines rebooted, human patients stabilized, and entire regions slowly reclaimed. The tide was turning, but the Zelthari weren't idle. Their leaders, enraged and desperate, unleashed a new horror: genetically engineered warriors, hybrid creatures blending alien bioweapons with captured human DNA. These monstrosities were ruthless hunters, designed to infiltrate human strongholds and dismantle the resistance from within. Selene watched a live feed of an attack on a resistance outpost. The hybrids tore through defenses with brutal efficiency, their enhanced strength and speed overwhelming even the toughest soldiers. We're losing ground, a resistance commander reported, voice strained. They're too strong. Selene clenched her fists. Not for long. We'll send reinforcements. Harnessing the warship's ancient hangar bays, she deployed squads of pilots and marines, fighters trained to wield the legacy of humanity's forgotten wars. Their weapons were calibrated to exploit the hybrids' weaknesses: sonic disruptors and electromagnetic pulse grenades that disrupted their alien biology. In the ensuing battle, the tide shifted again. The hybrids faltered under the combined firepower and tactical precision of humanity's warriors. Selene's squadron cut through their ranks, each victory a beacon of hope for those fighting below. Meanwhile, engineers aboard the Ardent Hope raced to enhance the warship's systems, integrating the counter-agent into the vessel's shields and weapons to further protect and empower the fleet. During a quiet moment, Selene met with Dr. Mei Ling in the ship's research bay. "Your work saved millions," Selene said, eyes tired but grateful. Mei shook her head. "It's only the beginning. The Zelthari's technology is vast and adaptive. We must keep evolving." Selene's gaze hardened. "Then we'll fight as long as it takes. We owe that much to those who came before and those who will follow." As the warship prepared for the next offensive, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. The counterstrike had dealt the Zelthari a heavy blow, but the enemy's resolve only deepened. The battlefield had expanded, from the ocean's depths to the vastness of space and now into the very cells of humanity itself. Selene looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of history and hope combined. "This war was meant to kill us," she whispered, "but it has forged us into something stronger." The ancient warships, once silent guardians of a forgotten era, now roared to life as humanity's last and greatest defense. And the fight for Earth and the future of humankind had only just begun. The victory of the counterstrike was a beacon in humanity's darkest hour, but shadows lurked not only in the void beyond the stars, but also deep within the ranks of the Ardent Hope. Commander Selene Drake had long suspected that the Zelthari's relentless assaults were not just brute force but part of a larger, more insidious strategy. And now, whispers of sabotage within their own fleet confirmed her fears. In the quiet hours aboard the ancient warship, Selene convened a secret meeting with her most trusted officers and Dr. Mei Ling. "We've lost 2 supply convoys in the last week," Selene began, her tone grim. "Systems were sabotaged from inside. Someone is feeding the Zelthari intelligence. Someone here is a traitor." Mei's eyes widened. "Sabotage at this level? It could undo everything we fought for." Lieutenant Kieran leaned forward, voice low but fierce. "We need to root out the mole before they strike again." Selene nodded. "Agreed. But the question is, who?" The room fell silent, the weight of suspicion heavy in the air. Over the following days, security protocols tightened. Every crew member underwent rigorous screenings, neural scans, biometric tests, even psychological evaluations. But the traitor remained elusive, their sabotage subtle, their presence like a ghost in the machine. Meanwhile, the war against the Zelthari raged on. The hybrids, those monstrous bioengineered killers, continued to infiltrate human strongholds, sowing chaos and fear. Resistance fighters grew weary, morale fraying under the constant threat of attack. One evening, as Celine walked the ship's corridors, a cold chill ran down her spine. She paused, senses alert. A shadow moved at the edge of her vision. 2. Quick to be human. "Show yourself," she commanded, hand instinctively reaching for her sidearm. From the darkness emerged a figure, a young technician, wide-eyed and trembling. "Commander," the technician stammered, "I didn't want to, but I had no choice." Selena's eyes narrowed. "Who sent you?" Tears welled in the technician's eyes. "They threatened my family. The Zelthari. They have spies everywhere." The confession was a dagger twisting in the heart of the crew's unity. Selene ordered the technician secured, but her mind raced. The Zelthari's influence ran deeper than anyone had imagined. Back in the command center, Selene reviewed logs and communications with Dr. Mei Ling. The sabotage points hinted at a pattern, routes vital to supply, but also key to the warship's internal systems. "Someone is deliberately targeting our most vulnerable spots," Mei said, frowning. "It's more than just espionage, it's a psychological war." Celine's jaw tightened. "We can't let fear break us." Determined to flush out the traitor, Celine authorized a bold plan, a simulated systems failure designed to lure the saboteur into revealing themselves. The ship's power dimmed briefly. Alarms blared. Crew members scrambled to respond, but the failure was staged. Hidden cameras and neural trackers monitored every reaction. Within hours, an alert flashed on Celine's console, a security officer attempting unauthorized access to classified files. Celine moved quickly, assembling a team to intercept. The officer, caught red-handed, confessed under interrogation, "I did what I had to. They promised safety for my family." It was a painful reminder that the war was not just fought with weapons but with fear and desperation. Celine addressed the crew later, voice steady and resolute. "We fight not just for survival, but for each other. Trust is our greatest weapon." The ship's atmosphere shifted, the shadow of betrayal lifting slightly but leaving scars. As the ardent hope prepared for its next engagement, Celine found a moment alone with Mei Ling. "We're stronger than this," Mei said softly, "but we have to remain vigilant." Celine looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of leadership. They thought this war would kill us. Instead, it's revealing who we truly are. The ancient warship pulsed with life around her, a symbol of humanity's enduring spirit. And as long as that spirit burned, there was hope. Far beyond Earth's orbit, in the eerie glow of the Zelthari command nexus, a council of alien warlords gathered in their bioengineered throne chamber. Tendrils of living metal pulsed rhythmically around the vaulted ceiling, casting shifting shadows on the grotesque figures seated within. Supreme Commander Virthak, a towering hybrid of chitin and circuit, slammed a clawed fist against the pulsating floor. His multifaceted eyes flickered with rage. "Human resistance grows stronger than anticipated," he hissed, voice reverberating like a hive in turmoil. "Their counterstrike at Mars was a blow we cannot ignore," the other warlords murmured, in agreement, tendrils twitching with tension. The hybrid warriors, their newest weapons, had failed to crush the rebellion. The bioweapons, once the crown jewel of their arsenal, were now met with devastating human adaptations. But Virthak had not come to merely bemoan failure. He leaned forward, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "We face more than external enemies. We face corruption from within." A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. "Reports confirm traitors embedded within our ranks," Virthak continued. "Leaking strategies, sabotaging supplies, weakening our hold." One warlord, an elder named Krethrun, spoke, his voice like grinding stone. "Is this the influence of the humans? Or is it something else? An ancient pestilence eating at our core?" Virthak's many eyes narrowed. "It matters little. We must root out the infection and strike back with finality. He paused, then hissed, "Prepare the Shadow Legion." From the shadows of the chamber emerged figures clad in sleek black bioarmor, their forms shifting and flickering like living darkness. The Shadow Legion were the Zelthari's deadliest assassins, skilled in subterfuge, infiltration, and terror. "They will penetrate human lines," Virthak declared. "Sow discord, dismantle their trust, and cripple their unity." Meanwhile, aboard the Ardent Hope, Commander Celine Drake sensed the shifting tide. "We've uncovered the mole," she told her officers. "But the Zelthari's game is deeper. They're striking at our minds and our hearts." Lieutenant Kieran frowned. "How do we fight an enemy that hides in the dark?" Celine's eyes hardened. "We shine a light." As the Ardent Hope raced to reinforce Earth's battered defenses, reports came in of mysterious disappearances within resistance cells, sudden betrayals, and sabotage that undermined critical operations. The Shadow Legion had begun their assault. In Lay, one devastated outpost, Marines discovered signs of infiltration, silent weapons, poisoned supplies, messages forged in enemy hands. Selene convened a council of resistance leaders and scientists. "We must strengthen our bonds," she urged. "Trust and transparency are our shields against their shadows." Dr. Mei Ling added, "We're developing neural encryption protocols, ways to secure communication and detect deception at the biological level." But even as hope flickered, Selene knew the war was entering its deadliest phase. The enemy was no longer just the alien invaders outside the gates. It was the creeping doubt, the fear, and the fractures within humanity itself. She steeled herself. "This war was meant to kill us," she said quietly, "but it will make us invincible." The Ardent Hope surged forward, ancient engines blazing, carrying humanity's last stand into the darkness. And deep within that darkness, the Shadow Legion waited. The battlefield was a fractured constellation of fire and metal. Earth's orbit had become a graveyard of shattered warships and flickering debris fields. Yet amidst the chaos, the Ardent Hope burned like a beacon of defiance, its ancient hull scarred but unyielding. Commander Celine Drake stood on the bridge, eyes locked, on the tactical displays that flickered with incoming threats. The Shadow Legion had infiltrated their ranks, and the war's darkest hour was upon them. "Status report," she demanded. Lieutenant Kieran's voice crackled through the comms, tense but steady. "Shields at 50% and dropping. We're holding, but the enemy is relentless. Prepare countermeasures," Celine ordered. "Deploy neural encryption and activate all defenses." The warship trembled as volleys of plasma and bioorganic missiles streaked through space. The Zelthari's hybrids swarmed in deadly numbers, while the Shadow Legion moved like ghosts, striking at critical systems with precision. Inside the ship, alarms blared as sabotage threatened to cripple their core. But the crew, hardened by months of war, fought back. Engineers sealing breaches, soldiers hunting infiltrators, and medics tending to the wounded. Celine gripped the command console, mind racing. The fate of humanity rested on this moment. They had awakened ancient power, but now they had to prove that humanity's spirit was stronger than any weapon or shadow. "Target their flagship," she commanded. "Concentrate fire on the Zelthari command vessel. If we take out their leadership, the rest will falter." The Ardent Hope's cannons roared, firing devastating beams that pierced the alien flagship's bioshields. The enemy vessel convulsed, systems failing as it tumbled toward destruction. But the victory was short-lived. From the darkness, the Shadow Legion's leader appeared, a terrifying figure clad in living armor, its form shifting like a nightmare made flesh. Celine's calm crackled. "Commander, they've boarded the ship. The Shadow Legion is inside." Her breath caught. This was the true test, the enemy within. "Seal all bulkheads," she ordered. "Deploy the boarding defense teams." Through labyrinthine corridors, brutal firefights erupted. Shadow assassins struck with deadly silence, but humanity's warriors fought with desperate courage. Celine led a squad through the lower decks, moving toward the ship's core where the enemy sought to plant a bioweapon that would cripple the Ardent Hope from within. In the flickering emergency lights, she confronted the Shadow Legion leader. Steel met shadow as they clashed in a deadly dance of blades and energy. The air hummed with tension, each strike echoing the fate of the war. With a final decisive blow, Selene shattered the enemy's armor, forcing the assassin to retreat into the shadows. Breathing heavily, Selene activated the core's containment protocols, neutralizing the bioweapon just in time. Back on the bridge, the crew cheered as the flagship exploded in a distant blaze, its destruction signaling a turning point. Selene allowed herself a moment of relief, but the war was far from over. "Send out the call," she said, "to every survivor, every fighter. It's time to reclaim our home." The ardent hope became the rallying point, a symbol of resistance and hope. Across Earth, the Zelthari forces faltered. Without their command, their cohesion broke. Humanity's forces pressed the advantage, retaking lost ground with fierce determination. Months later, as the last Zelthari ships fled beyond the stars, Selene stood once more on the deck of the Ardent Hope, now docked in Earth's rebuilt orbit station. She looked down at the blue planet, battered but alive. "This war was meant to kill us," she whispered. "But we survived. We endured. And we will never forget the price." Around her the crew smiled, weary but victorious. The ancient warship, once a relic of forgotten battles, had become the vessel of humanity's salvation. And in the quiet that followed, Selene knew the true battle was only just beginning. The fight to rebuild, to remember, and to rise stronger than ever before. Humanity had unleashed its deadliest warships, and in doing so, had unleashed its greatest hope.